Welcome to the Fishbowl Sports Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here. Joining me today, as always, is Jalen. We are going to be doing our Louisiana Ragin Cajun versus Eastern Michigan preview here for this upcoming week here. And Jalen, I wish I was talking to you on better terms. It looked like the Cajuns was nowhere to be found in Missouri this past Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Chief. I think the biggest takeaway for me is the 4 yards passing combined for the Cajuns, with Lunch getting -1 yards and then Daniel Bill getting 5 yards passing. They Daniel Bill 1 for 8. Is I mean I really haven't seen that from the Cajuns before, even against a big time opponent like Missouri, who's in the SEC. I just think if overall. I really think the only highlight was Zylan Perry's big run. But other than that, I don't. It just wasn't the Cajuns. It wasn't the Cajuns' day.
Typically UL usually posts like more like highlight film on their social media pages that we like to share with our fans, but they didn't post anything. They didn't even post Island Perry's big run this past week, and I'm like, ooh, social media team, like, man, y'all are we're that embarrassed about it, look, I've seen posts from fans online saying that the Cajuns football team quit. They quit on Dez and they quit everywhere else. I disagree with that there. For a couple of reasons. Let me give you I'm gonna give you like at least two or three reasons just on top of my head, so I can kind of give y'all some explanation of why I don't think they actually quit, even though they're like, oh, there's evidence that they quit out there. Anyway, let's start looking at this here. So look at the time of possession with this game here. All right, Missouri's offense controlled the clock for the majority of this football game. Their offensive line, the moment they snapped that ball, that first possession, I knew that the Cajuns were going to lose. That first drive after it was over, I'm like, yeah, we're losing this game. It isn't a discipline problem. It isn't that they quit. It was the fact that Missouri is just, they have a lot more talent than we have on that team, and we got blown out. And they are so much better than what we are. Okay. That is just the plain Jane truth, and there's nothing else I can say about it. They were just, I mean, Amon Hardy last year with ULM gained, I think, 180 some yards against the Cajun defense. Okay, and that's when we were perceivably good. And there's arguments against that technically because I've even said last year that we had a weak schedule, and that did help us out a good bit last year. But you are what your record says you are, and we had a very good season last year. Made it to the Sun Belt Championship game. Fast forward to this year, we're 1-2, and everybody's freaking out that we might only win like one or two games here. Now, granted, looking at the offensive rankings for the Cajuns here through the first three games is not great news. Yards a game, this is adding passing and rushing, 180, which is good for 134th in the nation. If you're wondering, well, how many FBS teams are, there's 136 FBS teams. So the Cajuns are the third worst offensive team in the country at getting yards and stuff. So Daniel Bill only had five rushing yards. I mean, five passing yards. It's not like anybody else really did anything better at all. If you look at I mean, nobody on that offense is doing really good at all. Like you can't even say that the receivers are doing good because they keep dropping the ball. The It's a miracle that our running backs able to even get yards because our offensive line isn't doing that good. I don't want to hear about injuries because we wasn't good the first game. Literally against Rice, and Rice is perceivably definitely one of the worst teams in the country as well. So this isn't me being negative. This is me being really realistic about everything. Alan Perry had five rushes for 88 yards. Stephen Blanco, seven rushes for 31 yards. And look, they had some good gains there. Bill Davis couldn't really get much, but Blanco's really been coming along strong there. So people are not game planning for him as much because, I mean, he's the third back. He's the RB3 of the offense. So it doesn't really take much to plan against him too much there. Going back to all this stuff here, I think the time of possessions. Okay. This is what I wanted to get at here. Okay. Missouri had the ball. And remember when I was talking about dominating like time of possession and stuff was gonna be key in this game last week, Jalen?
Yep, you did.
Missouri controlled the ball for 42 minutes and 51 seconds. I don't think anybody actually looking at this here actually understands that there's 15-minute quarters per quarter, okay?
Hmm.
They almost controlled the ball for 3 quarters of a football game.
That's a lot.
And you want to call that them players quit. How would you like to be on the field for 42 minutes and 51 seconds on defense?
No, exhausting that is.
Like, yeah, and you want to say they quit? Come on, man. Like, they were
No, they
out
didn't.
there
They
for
didn't quit.
42
They
minutes
didn't quit.
and they moved the game up for heat. Okay? 42 minutes and 51 seconds. And you sitting out there and you can't stop them. And they're running it down your throat. They never stop letting up running down your throat there. You couldn't do anything about it. Now, granted, look, could the Cajuns have maybe played better? Maybe so. I mean, I think even it didn't matter if we would have brought the 2024 Cajuns out there on the field, they were going to lose that football game anyway.
Missouri's just a good
Um,
team.
Missouri's going to be that's a college football playoff team. Their schedule sets up for it. They're going to be in the CFP. Now, you can hang your hat on that as much as you want. Missouri's first 4 drives all ended up with touchdowns. By the time it was 10:31 left in the second quarter, they were beating the Cajuns 28 to nothing. How did you think the game was going to go? It didn't take them long to score. They had 5 minutes on that time possession, but they just kept churning down clock. That's all they did. Their first 2 touchdown drives took 9 minutes and 47 seconds off the clock. Their first
Hmm.
2 drives in the first quarter alone. Look, I'm just saying we were going to get destroyed going in that game. And but to say these players quit, I'm going to defend them. I don't think they quit. I think they just got so physically exhausted out there on the field that they just couldn't run anymore. I'm surprised we didn't have more injuries due to cramping, to be honest with y'all. Which is a plus for Dez and them on the nutritional staff to keep them guys hydrated and stuff during that weather. Good job by them. They deserve applause for that. But let's talk about Eastern Michigan. I'm done talking about Missouri, Jalen. Well, you know what, Jalen, what you think?
I agree with you. They didn't quit because if you look at it, the interception by Cameron Whitfield, at that point the Cajuns were still down 28 nothing midway through the second. You saw who had that sack on Bo? I think it was Jay Duggar. Hey, he started with the sack, then it was an incomplete pass, then it was the interception by Cam Whitfield, and that helped the Cajuns get on the board with the field goal. At that point, they were down 28 nothing. So to say these fellas gave up, I just don't want to believe that. I honestly don't believe that they did not give up in this game. And the fact that people are saying that this early in the season, I mean, it's kind of frustrating, honestly, for the players.
Yeah, I mean, like it is a frustrating thing to kind of talk about there. That's kind of the part of the reason what it is here. But let's talk about Eastern Michigan and move ahead here a little bit here. So Eastern Michigan, the Cajuns are going to go up there to Michigan, and Jalen, yeah, there's a famous player on Eastern Michigan that I know somebody's going to comment. Okay, underneath this episode, Chief, why did you talk about him? He's got no stats on the year. He's a freshman. He's only famous because of his name. I'm not gonna even try to say the last name because just in case I might get canceled in case I screw up or something. His first name is Noah, and we're just gonna leave it at that.
Just
Huh,
leave it
Jalen?
at that. That's crazy. It's crazy. I saw the name, like how you just scrolling and you see the name, but I didn't realize he played for Eastern Michigan.
I had forgot about it until I was looking at the roster, setting up for the preview. I was like, "Oh man, he plays for Eastern Michigan," and it's insane, bro. So Eastern Michigan's not having a great year. They're 0-3. They've had some bad losses themselves. Look, I'm gonna call this a measuring stick game for the Cajuns here. Because I said last week that you was not gonna get a fair comparison with the Cajuns against Missouri because you're trying to compare, good and bad or whatever. And Missouri's a CFP team. They're going to be in the college football playoff. Their schedule sets up for it. They'll probably be, I think they play South Carolina this week. And we're trying to like compare what our team is right now compared to a CFP team. We're on two different weight limbs at this point. So I don't get too much bite into like, oh, the Cajuns need to be trying to compete for the CFP. We've only had one or two opportunities to go for the CFP, and that was in 2020 and 2021 out of the whole entirety of the program. Let's get to the Sun Belt title game before we start thinking about CFP. That's getting like way too ahead of it
Yep,
here.
yep, exactly. It's so
Um,
super far ahead.
so they lost to Long Island University, an FCS team. They lost to Kentucky and they lost to Texas State. Now, this is a good measure stick game because they've played a common opponent that the Cajuns are going to have this year in Texas State. So, Jalen, if we wanted to go to this game, they got tickets for sale for $8, bro. You want to go?
Not for eight
That's
bucks at Eastern. And guess what? Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but this is Eastern Michigan's homecoming.
really
Yes, it's their homecoming.
okay. Oh, I see it. Operation Go Green. All right.
Now you're 0 and
I
3, and you set the Ragin Cajuns for your homecoming. This is definitely interesting. If this ain't motivation for the Cajuns, I don't know what it is.
I think that the Cajuns here. It's hard to say. So looking at Eastern Michigan here, if you want to look at their stats and stuff here, they haven't done well. I mean, they've scored a lot more points than the Cajuns have against the. I'm trying to see something here. That's weird. Um, but if you look at like the Cajuns, looking at their rankings right now, they're 29th in yards rush per game, but they're 128th in rushes. 128th ranked in rushes. This is why it's important to get that third back going because I think the Cajuns need to rely on. They need to get the passing game going, I understand. But they need to run the football more because they're 128th in the rushes per game. Now, some of this stuff is a little inflated because like the defensive scores got wrecked this week because they gave up 50 something points because they're on the field the whole entire game basically. So their opposing points per game is 33 given up. But look, the first two games they didn't give up that many points. And they give up that. That's why you get an average of 30 because it's only three games. It's math. I'm not the best math person. If you're a good math person, you know where I'm going with this. Or if anybody's talking about that like the rankings are a little bit construed here though. But the 4 yards passing, we got to get something more than that. I think at this point, I think Daniel Beal needs to be QB2. I think they need to start Lunch. I think Lunch Winfield needs to be your starter because Beal, he's not getting the job done. I as a quarterback, we've seen him enough in enough time to where we know what he is. I don't even know if he's an FBS quarterback, development wise. He looks like an FCS quarterback right now. Uh, that's my criticism on him. It don't seem like I know his line isn't the best. The offensive line is not great for the Cajuns here, but I do think they need to run the ball more to help that passing game. And the Cajuns have always done good with a dual threat quarterback. Plenty of examples of that, and I'll bring them up right here. Terrence Broadway, Blaine Goche, that's just two. Coach De Michael Desimo, good dual threat. Levi Lewis can be a dual threat. Plenty of examples of it all throughout, like, different eras of college football. same skill set. I think that's what's going to help out the Cajuns. I think Lunch Winfield, he can work on his passing, but if he can just get the Cajuns to 180 to 200 passing yards, and that's not a lot of passing yards. I'm not asking to go throw 400 on Eastern Michigan, but if he could throw 180 to 200, I think that's all this Cajun team needs. To be honest with you, Jalen, and Fishbowl Nation, I think if they get 180 to 200 yards average across the board, that's going to
Uh-huh.
help out that running game a good bit. I think it's going to open it up. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, it's definitely going to open. It's going to open a lot of things up. And like you said, I agree with you when you said the running game, keep running the ball more. As you see what Zion Ferry did against Missouri, and then Bill Davis, he might have had an off night, but you saw what he did against McNeese. That's your speed and power at the running back. But yes, if well, I think whoever's out there at quarterback, if they're able to consistently throw the ball and get those yards, and I don't think that'd be such a bad idea putting lunch out there. You can see what he can do. I think this is the perfect game to get his foot in there without backing somebody up. I think it could be a time, but I don't know what Dez is going to do. But I would love to see him featured more in the offense this week against Eastern Michigan. But if they pass a 180, hey, that's definitely could get them the win, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
So Eastern Michigan is ranked 70th in points per game, 31st in yards, yards per play 49th, third down conversion are 93rd. These are all better than the Cajuns. I mean, their offense is way better. They haven't ran the ball that much. I mean, well, they're 4.3 yards per carry. They're 52nd. That's good for 52nd. They like to pass the ball more. They pass the ball more, that which ranks 24th most. They're 56.25%. Running it, they're running 40, about 44% of the time. So completion percentage, they're not very good at like completion percentage, 62%. So the Cajun defense can definitely do well. Their defense isn't that good through the air. So that's a good sign, right? But most of their opponents don't actually pass. So their rankings are kind of like construed a little bit here. But they're terrible against the run. They're 122nd in rush plays against them. So they give up 7.6 yards a rush, which is
Yeah,
very
they
high in
just
that
they, they just have to be better on that side of the ball.
That's for Eastern Michigan. But like I said here, some of the stuff here, they give up 50 opponent points per game is fit at 50 for them. So for Eastern Michigan, it's going to be tough on them to stop the Cajuns here. But I do think that that is something that we have to look at here. Defensively, I mean, offensively, you got to run the ball. I think this is a game that you can kind of like you measure yourself up how your offensive line is, and I think if you get that right, you'll be 2-2, and the season isn't lost. You don't feel like you've lost the season, and you can head into that Marshall game with a little bit more excitement, and you could be happy about it. That is something that needs to happen with this team. And I think they really, really need this win. If they drop this game, it, there's only one more game. I could confidently say they're going to probably win. And that would probably be ULM, but um,
Yeah, I mean, my
not
predictions
looking
are
good.
already gone.
And you're not the only one, Jalen. A lot of people like missed the boat on predictions. I said 8-4. I'm feeling more like if they could win this one, I think they could get to a 5-6 win season here. Kind of looking back at the 2022, 2023, 6 and 7 year, and go to a bowl game and see what happens. But I think they can get up to 6 and 7. I think that is very good, realistic record talking right now. Because I think they can get the passing game going. You lost your starting quarterback, Walker, which the Cajuns probably would have beat Rice. I think Walker would have got them in scoring position.
Yeah,
The Cajuns,
absolutely. I agree.
because I think he was moving the ball down that way. So that injury, like even with, I think they still would have lost to Missouri. I think they would have, if Walker would have been coming in here right now after 3 games under his belt, I think they would have done better. I think the passing game would be doing better for sure. You've been practicing with them guys, so it would be probably, even if it's 80 or 100 yards, it would have been a big difference here. But I think they need to go through the running game. I think this should be a run first approach, um,
Hmm.
and just go with it. I think three straight runs to start the game. I think that's what they need to do, just establish a running
That
game. I don't
that
think they
that'll
go three and
definitely
out.
set the tempo.
That's what they need to do, I think, here. I would start lunch if, you know, I think Winfield should be a quarterback. That's all I'm saying. Because Beal doesn't have the rushing ability quite like Lunch does. Lunch is a better dual threat here, and if he could just work on his passing game a little bit more, probably a little bit better decisions for Lunch would be a very good thing. But I do think Des needs to incorporate some more screens and running back draws when they go drop the offensive line in the pass block mode, and just run a draw with Perry, whoever your fastest back is, either Blanco or Perry. I think it's probably Perry, honestly, out of the three of them.
Oh, Perry has yeah, definitely is
Yeah,
the
I would give it
fastest.
to
You need
Perry. I would give it to
to
Perry.
get him the.
I would give it to Perry and just let him go to town on that draw. I think that's what the Cajuns need on offense. That's my little tidbit there. So let's pick this game, Jalen. Who wins it? And who wins it? Eastern Michigan or the Cajuns?
So I'm going to go with the Cajuns. I think this is a statement win. Eastern Michigan said, "Hey, we're going to schedule y'all for homecoming." I think the Cajuns are going to come in after this brutal loss to Missouri, and they're gonna get the win.
I'm gonna go with the Cajuns as well. I think they're gonna pick up the win here. The Cajuns are favored by 2.5. I'll take that. I think that's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be as close as that here. I think the running game of the Cajuns is gonna take over the time of possession. I would shoot clock if I was the Cajuns, and I think that's what's gonna happen in this game here. So I got the Cajuns going. I think 7 or 14 points here. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really close. A touchdown could decide it, but I mean, I really do think Eastern Michigan is going to go 0-4. So we have to wait and see.
Yep, we'll have to wait and see. All right, James Madison taking on Liberty. We're gonna start a Sun Belt game. Pick 'em right now. James Madison taking on Liberty here. James Madison favored by 9.5 points in this one here. I got James Madison. Jalen, what you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with James Madison in this one. I think James Madison Liberty, if I'm not mistaken, they signed a deal. I think they're playing all the way through 2030 something. I don't know. I don't know if you saw it, Chief. I was reading about it the other day, and I thought it was kind of funny. Them and Liberty have like the oldest game where they'll be playing like 10 plus years from now.
Hey, that's called getting it done early, right? Troy taking on Buffalo here. Troy been kind of one of those surprise teams this year. Buffalo's favored by 6.5 in this one. Um, I'm gonna go with I think I'm gonna go with Buffalo. What you think, Jalen?
I think so too. I'm gonna agree with you on that. I'm gonna go with Buffalo also. I mean, Buffalo's a home team. They're playing well this year so far. I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
Arkansas State taking on Kennesaw State on the road here. Kennesaw State, I think, still trying to find themselves here. So I think they will lose to Arkansas State. I got the Red Wolves winning this one over Kennesaw State. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Arkansas State. Also, both teams are still trying to, still early for both teams, but I think Arkansas State is gonna get the win.
Coastal Carolina taking on South Alabama. South Alabama favored by 14.5, and I will agree with that. I think South Alabama will beat Coastal Carolina. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a close one. I do want to go with the home team a lot, so I think South Alabama's gonna take this one. Sun Belt Conference matchup right there.
And this year the Sun Belt's not as good as it was in years past either. There's a lot of across the board, the records ain't that good like they normally would be. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, the conference as a whole is down. So, I mean, it's just probably one of those years. It might be a wide open conference once we get there. That's why I say don't count the cages out just yet. Maine
Yeah,
taking on
definitely.
Georgia Southern. Maine hasn't won a game yet. FCS school, and yeah, just kind of like Georgia Southern, they got a terrible defense. But I do think Georgia Southern does beat Maine. I think they will be 2-2. What do you think, Jalen?
Yeah, Georgia Southern's definitely gonna take this one. I hate to see teams go 0-4, but Maine, this is gonna happen.
Marshall taking on Middle Tennessee. This one's kind of a toss-up for me a little bit here. Marshall, lost a lot of their guys to Southern Miss. Um, uh, I'm gonna go with Middle Tennessee. I think they will actually get the upset technically here because they're playing at home, and I just don't trust Marshall enough to pick them. What you think, Jalen?
I'm going to go Middle Tennessee. I still think Marshall lost too many pieces after last year's championship winning team, and I just think they're just trying to find themselves.
Georgia State taking on number 20 Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt coming off a big win against South Carolina. Georgia State here, TJ Finley. He transferred over there. But I got Vanderbilt winning this one. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I think Vandy is going to take the win in this one. But hey, TJ Finley, he still has college eligibility. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Southern Miss taking on Louisiana Tech here. I got Southern Miss winning this one. I know Louisiana Tech is favored by 3.5, but I think Southern Miss is going to take care of business for us. And what you think, Jalen?
Oh, definitely. I think it's a tough one too. You know what? I'm gonna go with Southern Miss on this one.
Nichols taking on Texas State here. Texas State's favored in this one. I got Texas State winning this one. Nichols had a very good opening win, but dropping their last two games. I know one of them was to Troy, but I think Texas State does pick up the win in San Marcos. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, Texas State is gonna pick up the win. Nichols started that first game great. I want to see them pick it up though.
All right, next game we got on this list here is ULM taking on UTEP here. Uh, ULM had the week off last week here, so they had a whole week to prepare for this game here. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I got UTEP winning in the Sun Bowl in El Paso. Give me UTEP. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I think even with the rest, I still think UTEP takes this one against ULM.
All right, all right, all right. Well, that's all the Sun Belt games that we picked for this week here. So thank y'all for tuning in to this week 4 edition here for our Sun Belt picks here. So we got a lot of stuff planned out here for the Fish Bowl here in the coming weeks here. You can follow us on all our social media channels: Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anyone. TikTok and Threads. Okay, so and we got plenty of other stuff that we got planned here. We're developing some cool stuff that we hope to incorporate in the near future. So thank y'all for tuning in here to this episode here at the Fishbowl Sports Radio. We hope you have a great, wonderful night. I'll see you here next time here, Fishbowl Sports Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.